Welcome back to Lesson 4 of the Kodu Game Lab tutorial series. In part 3, we're going to examine pickups, and in particular how they can add health to your character if you have lost your health. Let's begin. So for this demonstration I'm going to start a new world, and as always when I start a new world I'm going to add a little bit more world to play with. Not too much, but just enough. Now, I'm just going to very quickly change this back to grass for the time being, because I do not want it to be on that. There we go. And I'm going to select a second terrain on this example, which will be this one. And in the top corner, I'm just going to draw a bit of that terrain on. The idea behind this is that when my character goes onto that terrain, he will lose health. And then later on, we'll add an apple, so that when he collects it, he gains health. Let's start. I'm going to start off by adding my character to the screen. In this instance, I'll just use a Kodu, and I'm going to program him as we have done before. But before I do that, I'm going to just go to change settings, because in order to see if this is working, we need to make sure that we can see his hit points. And so he doesn't die quickly, I'm going to set his hit points up to 500 to begin with, which is quite high. Now, if I escape out of this menu and program my character now, we obviously need to program him to move. So when keyboard and WASD do move and quickly. I also want him to lose health when we walk on that patch of different terrain at the top left hand side there. So I'm going to say when, and then go to the more menu and select on land, then select the terrain type. So I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to say do combat damage, and then how many points of damage I take. So for every sort of like second or so that I'm on there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to knock off 5 points of damage. Now let's just test that that works and make sure that everything's fine before we put in our pickup. So if we go over to this terrain there, hopefully we start to lose health. There you go, you can see the bar going down, and that's exactly what we want at this point in time. So let's add our apple, or whichever object you want to collect. So on this one I'm going to select the object tool, click on the ground, and I'm going to use an apple. I'm going to enlarge this apple just so that it's obvious and nice and big. There we go. And I'm now going to program my Kodu so that when he collects the apple, he will eat it, and then when he's got that apple, he will gain health. So let's program my Kodu again. On line 3, this is the one where we need to bump into the apple and eat it. So when bumped, and select the object, in this case the apple, we do, and we eat it. So when we bump the apple, we eat it. On line 4, however, we need to say what happens when we've got the apple. So we're going to say when, and we've got, and then select our object again, the apple. So when we've got the apple, we want to this time go to combat again, and select heal. Now we need to add something to this. We need to add how much heal we want, and also say who the healing is applied to. So if I click on the plus key, I'm going to go to points first of all, and I'm going to select to begin with to do 100 points of healing when I collect this apple. I'm then going to select the plus one more time and tell it that I want it to be applied to me. Otherwise it'll do healing but to nothing. And that's the programming code that we need for this one. So when we go for a certain land, we get damage. When we bump the apple, we eat it. When we've got the apple, we heal ourselves to the value of 100 points. Let's give that a try, see if it works. So if I play the game, I shall go over my land here and do some damage to myself. And then I'll go and head off to the normal land and select my apple. And you can see that my health bar's gone up a little bit. Obviously feel free to play around with this, and don't forget as well that 100 points isn't the maximum that you can have on this. If you go back into the program and think to yourself, I haven't got enough points there, just go down to this bit and change it to points again, and maybe add another 100 points to it. Okay, so you'll heal 200 points. But don't forget at the end to always select me, so it heals your character. That's the end of video 3. Please join me in part 4 to see how we can destroy objects when we have collected a certain number of objects. This will be particularly useful to restrict access to parts of your world. See you soon.